You will not miss a moment from Paris as talkSPORT's team of experts and pundit provide commentary across every day of the games this summer. Across the talkSPORT network, there will be live commentary, expert analysis, and every moment captured. I'm thrilled about that, and I'm thrilled that this fella joins us live. Simon, you know him, I know him. President of the International Association of Athletics Federations, Seb Coe is with us. Seb, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well, thank you, sir. Good to speak to you. Simon's alongside me. Seb, how would you sum up the health and the status of the Olympics going into yet another games this summer in Paris?
Well, I can sum up the health of my sport, and that's in good nick. We came out of Budapest last year, the World Championships. Great, biggest broadcast numbers ever. Great athletes. We've got great performances out there. The Olympic game, look, I'm probably not a reliable witness here, having gone through 7 years of pain and torture in London to try and get across the line. It's a life-shortening experience being the president of an organising committee. But look, Paris will be great. It's a beautiful city, and I think they're making pretty good progress. But it's not without its challenges. By the way, you two are football guys. I'm sitting looking at the Lisbon Lions stand at Celtic.
At Celtic Park?
Yeah, that's the view outside my window at the moment.
Fantastic.
I'm old enough to have actually watched that game in black and white.
Seb, I am as well, sir. I am 66 years of age, and in 1967, Celtic became the first British side to win the European Cup. Jimmy Johnson, Tommy Gemmell, and everybody. Stevie Chalmers got the winner. That's great to hear. What do you make of Celtic Park?
Do you know the best stat around? That whole team, not one of them were born outside of a radius of 15 miles of Celtic Park.
Yep. Yeah, it's quite incredible, isn't it? Wonderful. It's quite a stadium, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Anyway, I digress. But our sport's in good nick going into the Olympics. And the reason I'm talking to you with Celtic Park in the background is I'm in the stadium opposite, which has got our World Indoor Track and Field Championships that are about tomorrow.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. Well, welcome to the East End of Glasgow. Simon.
Very much. Seb, I mean, you talk about the health of the sport. And obviously the expectation levels going into this to the Olympics is that we're going to have some significant achievements. But the cut through in terms of the perception of athletics, because I remember you and I spoke a couple of months ago when you did the show with me on something else about athletics and the challenges that you've had. But how is the cut through for the sport? Because I look at you and I look at the time when I watched athletics, you and Steve and other people on Daily, and you were household names. And yet it doesn't feel that athletics has that prowess. And I know you tweeted about the Sports Person of the Year award, where one of the athletes that had won world records and set things hadn't even been considered on the short list. So how does the sport look in the eyes of the main public?
Look, I don't think Josh Kerr not making it into the top 6 in the BBC Sports Review of the Year had much to do with the status of the sport. I think it had a little bit more to do with the people on the selection panel. That's for another day. But look, the sport is in good nick. But Simon, you're right. You've talked about, sadly, you've talked about a very different era. You've talked about an era where there weren't multiple broadcast channels. You've talked about an era, and Jim, you would remember what I'm saying, is football was not a massively strong product. You know, when people like me and Daly and Tessa and, you know, the athletes came along, we weren't battling against football that was a Premier League product. We weren't battling against a rejuvenated rugby. Cricket was in and out. Rugby, we were getting slaughtered every week by the Welsh. You know, the football, you know, we were banned. Parents weren't really that encouraging of their kids go. You know, it was a very different world. I remember, Simon, I sort of reminisced a bit, but Brendan Foster always made me smile the other day. He said when he organised the Gateshead track meet, Newcastle United used to ask him at the beginning of the season, was he going on Friday night or Saturday? Because if they went on Saturday, Newcastle United
the crowds, yeah,
match the Friday night. So it was a very, very different landscape. So we're competing in a very, very different world. And, you know, again, there were a few TV channels. Now we've got stuff being live streamed every day, everywhere. It's on phones and in everybody's home. it's different. But I don't.
But yet, Seb, you guys are at the cutting edge of some quite significant decisions to make with the Belarusian and Russian issues and the transgender issues. Athletics is the one that cuts through these issues, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we don't do it for look. We don't do it for PR reasons. We do it because we actually genuinely think they're the right decisions. Transgender is pretty clear cut to me. If I'm elected to represent the global sport, one of my an element of that mandate is to protect the female category. If I don't do that, no woman will ever win another sporting event. We're up here watching indoor track and field. There are only two truly global sports. I think we would probably concede. We would certainly concede football. Track and field, we've got over 200 countries competing. This isn't the biggest world championships we've got. We've still got approaching 140 countries here, 650 athletes over the weekend. And it's very important that when young girls are coming to that stadium, that they leave feeling that they can take part in a sport where there's a level playing field. They can go out and find out where their local athletics club is, and they're not going to be thwarted at the end of 10 years of hard slog, across country and in gyms and on the track, because we've played fast and loose with the female category. It's where we are, and we're not going to move off that.
Well said.
Yeah, well said. Yes, indeed, Seb. Seb, you say the sport's in good nick. Are you still lobbying for cheaper tickets for the Olympics?
It didn't immediately put me on the Christmas card list in Paris. But look, let me be really open about this. It's not easy. We had expensive tickets in London, and that's the way it should be. But we also had, for instance, we had schemes where if you had kids that were 7 and 8, they paid £7 and £8. Parents paid £7 and £8 to bring them in the stadium. It's 25% of a local organising committee budget. That's quite a lot of, that's quite a lot of pressure on an organising committee. So all I was really saying is that I just want fans in a stadium that are track and field fans, and that we've got to be really careful. And this isn't just about the Olympic Games. It's when we stage a World Championships. We want to make sure we've got families bringing kids into stadiums, because that's your bloodline.
Okay, Seb, let's finish on Chelsea. Your beloved Chelsea, you didn't get your hands on it with Martin Broughton when you attempted your takeover some time ago. But in Pochettino, do you trust?
Yeah, look, he's a good coach. He's got a proven track record. He's coached at the very highest level. I don't think he's been left the best deck of cards to work with. It's not a team that really is in his shape. Most of those decisions and most of those players were purchased, well or badly before he really took the reins. I don't think this is a quick project, but look, we're clearly making progress, but it's hard out there. And look, I don't really need to tell you guys, it's the toughest league in the world. It is, I've got friends here from federations that, Barcelona fans, Real Madrid fans behind me. I say you only have 4 or 5 tough games a year. there is no easy game in the Premier.
It's a good point.
And it's quite comforting that having spent all that money, we've nicked into the top half of the league. But Chelsea fans have always had that slight gallows humour. That when you think it's going really well, it probably is about to collapse around you. I've been watching that club for far too long. Nothing's ever going to alter, and we're blindly optimistic. We still go and buy our season tickets, even when the product might not be quite as good as it was a year or two ago.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.